Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline, and today we're going to talk about brand new changes to the Roman numeral system. Now, before there has been a popular ME that talked about how the usual writing style of writing IV for the number 4 on clocks was changed to III, which is just 4 in a row of the I's on the clocks. And there was a storyline that this was done to appease a king long ago, and it just kind of stuck, and it was only used on clocks. Well, now we have some new changes as well as a change to that story. So first of all, I want to give a heads up to I'm Interesting Please is the person that found this, moderator for Retconned. So, as if 4 I's versus IV wasn't enough, I found this by Wikipedia. Are we now going to start seeing VIII on clocks instead of IX? Okay, and if you click on that, it takes you to here, and you basically get a big spiel about how they used to use it. Like the original now, there's III was now how the Romans always did it originally, and it was changed in modern times. That's the current story. Okay, so this person is asking which is correct, and then you get the spiel by Griswold, and he gives a lot of links too. The subtractive notation, which uses IV instead of III, has become the standard notation only in modern times now. Last time we looked into this, it was changed by a king, and it was used to be IV, but now it's always been III, and only recently was it changed. I have been unable to find a definitive date for the change. However, I did find the following. The fashion of using lesser ones subtractively, as in IV for 4, and IX for 9, and XC for 90, was introduced only in medieval Europe. It was not practiced by the Romans. And another link here, perhaps the biggest difference between modern and Roman numerals is that the Romans rarely used the subtractive principle. 9 was more likely to be VIII than IX. A local Roman, okay, so those are some other examples that they're not as good. So then if you scroll down here also, so although we would usually write IV, V, or IX, the Romans themselves would use both versions of the numbers. III instead of IV. And even this person even says that you'll do 3 I's instead of a V. So, and also VIII instead of IX. So weird. I did see this in a couple places when I was looking into this, but now I can't find the links except for on one of them. But it looks like that's the story now, that the Romans always did it that way, and then we changed it later. Here's another thing up here. It says Roman Numerals Converter, and it gives us all the traditional ones, and then it says alternative forms. While the above rules are the standard nowadays, they have not been consistently used in the past. For example, it's possible to find ancient documents and inscriptions using non-standard Roman numerals, such as III for 4, IC for 99, IIXX for 18, or MDCCCCX for 1910. So these are all non-standard. So it looks like now the Romans themselves, the numerals they actually used are different than what we are saying it has always been. Now, I might have fallen for this storyline if we hadn't just researched this recently for the III. And they were saying that a king liked the III, and it looked better on the clocks, so it kind of stuck. Well, now that storyline I was looking for has changed. Now they're saying that they use the 4 I's for symmetry reasons, because this is more symmetrical with this, and they wanted to keep all the digits kind of symmetrical if you divided the clock down the middle. So that's a totally different story than we were hearing last time. If one were to divide the watch face vertically, exactly 14 Roman characters would appear on each side of the dial. If IV were used, it would throw off the perfect symmetry of the watch dial. Okay, so now that's supposedly a symmetry thing. Okay, and then what about that story that we all found last time when we were looking it up? There is a story that a famous clockmaker had constructed a clock for the Louis the 14th, a king of France, and the clockmaker had naturally used IV for 4. When the clock was shown to be to the king, he remarked that III should have been used instead of IV. When it was explained to him that IV was correct, he still insisted, so there was nothing to do but change the clock dial. This introduced the custom of using III for 4. Okay, that's the story we heard, and that was the only story we could find maybe last year or so when this first came out. But the current story is this is probably only a story, however, as III occurs long before the time of Louis the 14th, and this same story is also told in connection with other monarchs. Also, the notation of Roman numerals has varied through the centuries. Originally, it was common to use III to represent 4 because IV represented the Roman god Jupiter, whose Latin name, IVPPITER, begins with IV. The subtractive notation, which uses IV instead of III, has become the standard notation only in modern times. Now, this is kind of confusing because other places on the net, they were saying that they preferred III because of association with the gods. Now they're saying that IV was associated with Jupiter. So there's a lot of confusion there. But basically, the storyline now is that the Romans always used this weird notation that we've never heard of. And the last time we checked this weird notation, it was only due to one king, and it was only for III. But now it's spreading through the rest of the alphabet. So basically, the Roman counting system is changing, and it is a Mandela effect. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.